Okay, so in the previous tutorial we have added these basic jump animations related logics, and it's working pretty much fine. So the remaining part is basically implement these countermeasure rules plus some improvement. Okay, so where can we start? Yeah, so I think this part is entirely done, which is the happy part, right? Which is executing everything properly and nice manner. The remaining part is this stuff. Right, so I'll start from here. Okay, so let's say jump selected to jump apex rule will be fired if we are falling and if we have a valid jump apex animation. Simple as that. If you are falling and if you have a valid animation, then it will simply play this one, right? Which means, like, let's say if we are at here, right, and if I jump out of this cliff, now you can see instead of playing the jump start anim, it will simply play the jump apex animation and jump fall land. You see? Okay, that part is done. And then let's go to this one. So here, if we are falling and if we doesn't have a valid jump apex any, right? So this is a countermeasure. If it doesn't have a valid any, or if, but if you are falling, then instead of jumping to the apex level, simply jump to the fall loop, right? Let's say if it doesn't have a apex valid any, it will execute this path and play this fall loop. If you have a valid any, it will go to this path. Right? This is the second rule. And what is the next rule? So from jump start to jump fall, a jump start to jump fall loop. So we first have to check whether we are jumping, and let's check, do we have a valid jump start loop plus valid jump apex? Not this one, actually we need to get reference jump apex. So if both of them is true, we need those to be false, then we make a transition to jump start to jump fall loop. Okay, this one is also done. And from here to here, it's simply automatic rule based transition, right? Because you don't need to remain at this stage. Soon after this jump start animation has been played off, we have to go to the fall loop. Okay, so basically this is a countermeasure as well. Let's say if it doesn't have jump apex and jump start loop animations, so instead of playing those animations, we can simply jump to this state and play the for loop directly, right? But we should have a jump start animation to be played, right? Which means sort of this one. This is also countermeasure. So this one should be automatic rule based transition, and we execute happy path, and on the remaining path is this one. Okay. So let's go inside this transition rule, and this one is pretty much simple. You have to simply check whether we are on ground, and let's get the property access pin. Movement component is flying. So if either of these condition is true, we consider it as a possible jump fall interruption. maybe let's say in your level there is some moving grounds, sort of like a dynamic platform. So let's say if character suddenly hit that ground, it should, let's say the character is falling and that dynamic platform currently hit the player, then it should stop playing that jumps animation and simply jump back to the cycle state, right? So that's a interruption that can be happen. So such scenarios will be handled by this rule. Okay, compile, save, and all of those warnings has been gone because we have implemented the respective stuffs properly. Okay, and one other thing, so since we have implemented this is jumping logic, maybe based on this jumping we can restrict certain actions, right? For example, let me quickly look at my documentation. Yeah, for example, uh, at the idle SM, so when we are making this transition rule, whether we can play the idle break or not, let's say if we are jumping, then we don't need to play any sort of idle breaks, right? So inside this can play idle breaks function, we can implement that rule as well, right? So I'll add the end, right? And yeah, I think we can bind multiple different stuff. The first one is, let's say, simply crouching. So if we are crouching, we don't need to play the idle breaks specifically. Right. So I'll add a O boolean here. Plus, let's say if you are moving also, we don't need to play idle breaks, right? So let's go to the update velocity data function, right? And here let's get the local velocity 2D and get the vector length xy squared. Let's simply check whether it is nearly equal to 0. If it is not nearly equal to 0, which means it is moving, or character is moving, or character has a velocity. So let's promote it to a variable called as velocity, right? And I'll move these to the world velocity category maybe, right? So let's go back to the transition rule, can play idle breaks. So if we have a velocity, also we can't play the idle breaks. And ideally, if we are jumping also, we don't need to play idle breaks. Okay, I'll get the knot and attach to here and plug it to here, right? So let's play a test with the idle breaks work properly. Yep, seems it's working. Yep, it's working. And let's see if I'm jumping. Yeah, now it's not playing idle breaks. Okay, awesome. Great. Let's try to jump to that platform. Maybe I'll increase its size further. Let's test it again. I don't know how to jump to that platform. Okay, yep. Even for the dynamic platforms it works properly. Now it's not actually a dynamic platform, but let's say it's not ideally ground, right? It's a platform, which means our trace is hitting properly for the static measures as well. And let's say if I'm out of this cliff, yep, the jumping works. Okay, so I think those are the stuff that I need to cover inside the, considering the jump feature. But if you remember, actually we kept this jump recovery additive anim for now, because I'm going to cover it when it comes to the additive animation sections. There are some of the advanced concepts that we need to follow to these sort of additive animations. So that's why I kept it to explain there. Okay. But for now, ideally, the pretty much nice jump feature is implemented, and it seems almost okay. Okay, and that's all I want to cover in this tutorial. I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.